going on, everybody? It's your main man, Big Iv, the talk of the town, Mr. DETV. Today, I get to sit with three amazing movers and shakers in the video landscape. I mean, the masterminds behind the film, the guys that turn ordinary into extraordinary, where no bounds, where no lens can live untouched. I have, to my left, some of the best creators on the side of the Mason-Dixon. I have Tim Fontaine, CEO of Fontaine Vision. I have Oz, who is the vice president of Jet Phoenix Films, and my main man right here to my left, Jet Phoenix himself, in the building on the plaza. Today's conversation is based around creativity. Again, some of the best filmmakers, the best creators that I know personally that worked on, Jet worked on. I'll let you tell them. What have you done, Jet? Who you worked with?
Oh man, we worked with so many people, from Ashanti, Wiz, Kanye, Lady Gaga, a bunch. The list keeps going, man. Sometimes I sit here and wonder, like, I look back, we were looking at the resume the other day because we had to put like some like montage together. I'm like,
it's a mile long.
I'm like, oh, we done shot so many people. Like, I forgot we even did this. Like, it's just like, but to me, it's like what we were talking off camera. It's about the impact, right?
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Tim, who'd you work with, Tim?
Oh man, just like with Jet, I was just saying, so many people, man. But I don't even look at them as clients anymore. Friends, friends. You know, everybody from Jamie Foxx to Puff, Jazzy, just so many people, man, and a lot of people who are great creatives, great artists that aren't so mainstream as well.
Yeah.
They're just friends, man. I have a lot of friends and coworkers.
Let me ask you this. First question off the bat. I heard it a couple times, and I want to see what you guys think about it. Doesn't matter what you're shooting with, your equipment.
Ooh.
Y'all want to rock with that?
Ooh, I'll touch it first.
Please.
Yes and no. So yes, in the sense of a technical aspect of, like, you know, formats and how great the quality is. But truth be told, I say no to the fact that, you know, if you don't have a story, you can put a bad story on a great camera. To where if you have a great story.
Say that again?
I said
you can put a bad story
on a great camera.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then you can put a great story on a not so expensive camera, or not, you know, the biggest glamorous camera that there is.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you really are diving into storytelling, I mean, there's movies that have made millions of dollars that were shot on very low end cameras and were very, very, very successful. Jog my memory. What was that horror movie that was shot in the woods with the witches? Blair Witch. That was like almost no big budget like that at all. Shot on like a VHS camera, but the whole story of it and how they put it together allowed it to be super successful, because it's about how you pull the viewer and how you get them to be engaged into the story. You don't need a great camera to do that. A great camera just allows you to have more control over the technical things of, like, how good the color is when you're doing that in post-production. You know, the overall image fidelity and quality. I mean, that's the point of a great camera. And certain aesthetics that come with certain cameras, like Red has its own little flavor, Ari has its own little flavor, and all the others, like, they all have their own feel and certain industry standards that come with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Cameras weren't really a big deal for me. I was always a glass and light guy. So that's where I would spend a lot of my money, glass, because you know, back in the day, you either owned a Red or you owned glass. No one barely owned both.
No facts. So you calling your boy up like, yo, we shooting today. He like, we are?
Yeah, it's just too much money. It's just too much money. Yeah, it's just too much money. So lights and glass was always my thing. Because I can tell you, as long as it can fit on a Canon E-mount.
It's a great priority, though.
Yeah, I was straight.
It's a great priority.
Actually smart.
Yeah, I was straight. So I was one of the people who spent all my money on some Zeiss glass.
Right.
When nobody knew what CP2s were.
Yeah.
You know, and light. Because those were the major things that nobody really had access to.
Yeah.
And I was always big on that look. I needed that cinema creamy, you know, that
for sure.
Yeah, you know,
that makes sense.
But it's always been glass and light for me.
What do you think, Jet?
For me, it's the same thing. I agree. Like, you know, the camera plays a role, you know, but I think it also goes to who's operating the camera.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Talk
Like,
about
because that is the key thing that people always forget about. They think like, hey, I got this high-end camera, I can make magic with this. But if you don't know that camera, then you're gonna be struggling, you know, like to try to figure out how it works. Like, I always encourage any person, like when they get a new camera, learn everything about it, but also be diverse in multiple cameras, because you want to know how, if somebody just gave me this Canon, like, okay, how does this work? I don't want to know. I need to be able to pick it up and
get right to it.
Get right to it.
Yeah.
Like, so to me, it's like what both of them said, but then also being able to know what you're doing with that. I think it's knowing all the equipment is a key thing. I was so curious about every piece of equipment on set. Like we were talking earlier about art direction, lighting, all these different things. So I always wanted to know, well, how did this get put together? I'm one of those. How does that work? How does, that's okay. All right. And just taking in a lot of information. I think that's the key. Just get as much information about what you're doing on set, or even if it's not on set, YouTubing it, whatever it may be, just taking all information in.
Yeah. That's dope. Now with the camera, there also comes the storytelling part, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What is your guys' approach of making or creating compelling storylines or compelling visuals? You know, what's your approach with that? Because we got the camera out the way, right? A lot of people get hung up on, no, I need a red, or I need to shoot this. And I'm gonna tell you my mistakes, because the only way we learn is through mistakes.
No, for sure.
My mistakes were when I got into film with Tim, and then I get into broadcasting, bringing the film aspect in the broadcasting, and it was two different worlds. Right? And then I had to learn how to tell compelling stories, which still was had a little bit of the soft skills that it can move over, but it's a different way of telling stories. What is your approach, as filmmakers, and also now as content creators, of coming up with compelling visuals?
Go ahead. For me, it's always been camera movement. When it came down to telling stories. Because everybody can point a camera, but not too many people, well, back then, know how to have camera movement and tell the story. So that was one of the things I kind of focused on when it came to shooting cinema looks. I always wanted to make sure I had dollies and great pushes or jibs or things like that, because with specific looks that I wanted. Or when I would have the big rig, people would look at me like, why you gotta follow focus? Or what's the matte box for? Like I was basically, swinging. But it wasn't that, because when I was on set, and I was on the set one time with a great DP, and I was real arrogant. And at this point, I was working as a creative art director. And one of the producers was a good friend of mine. So I'm on the set, man. I'm just moving around, and he like, art director, can you move those pictures over at least 6 inches to the side? And I thought he was like trying to punk me at one point. So in my ignorance, when we break, I go up to him, I'm like, yo, why you always talking to me like that? Right? Like that. And he was like, he said, you gotta understand something, son. He said, everything in my shot has to be pleasing to the eye.
Facts.
I can't have one picture crooked or one picture like that.
Talk about it.
And in my ignorance, he could have just been like, yo, get this guy out of here, or I'm leaving. But instead of that, he's seen the ignorance and he's seen the hunger as well. And he just let me shadow him. And that's when I shot different on every set. While everybody was taking pictures, I was doing exactly what you said, sir. I wanted to learn. What app you got? I wanted to know. But to answer the question, I went off a little bit, but camera movement. That's what allowed me to tell stories.
I would say for me, when it comes to storytelling and creating compelling stories and visuals, is I'm really heavy in post-production. And so for me, it's color. What does the color palettes look like? That can be from the outfit, the interior of the setting, and also the music and the sound itself and the sound bed. Like, what is the energy of the music? How's it making you feel? What story is it telling, having this specific sound or specific music playing in a certain scene? And I've been a music producer for 13 years, so I actually got started in all this from making music and producing beats and stuff like that. But then I got into scoring, sound designing. So, and then that's how me and him got together, because it's like, oh, we can just tell him make whatever we want. You know, he got the eye, like his eye, you know, phenomenal. Like he just, the way he sees things, and then the way he sees things is the way I hear and feel things.
Sweet.
Like I hear.
That's crazy.
I can feel what I hear. Like it's not just a rhythm thing. Like it's really it embodies my whole vessel, the way I hear music and sound design, because it really creates a whole feeling and ambiance and vibe, especially when you can match it with the visual.
Hey, Alex, let me ask you a question then. Being from like that film, I mean that audio background, when you're like just driving down the street and you see things, do you like equate the music to it, what you're seeing?
Yeah.
And put it like in your memory? I do that all the time too.
I'm like always thinking, what can be the vibe of this setting that I'm in?
Right.
I'm in the beach, you know, thinking of type of music I would make for that. I'm in the hood or driving down the block, or I'm in a big city, I'm in LA, I'm in whatever. Like, I try to embody wherever I'm at.
And store it?
Yeah.
And then go back and get it again.
Yeah.
Cause go ahead.
No, I'm just adding.
I mean, are we the only one?
No.
I do that all the time. I see like a girl walking down the street and I remember that shot.
No, I can't. He'll tell you, I can't close my eyes when we travel or go to sleep in the car, because I always want to see things. I want to see different sceneries. I think every place is a location. You know what I mean? And that's how I'm able to identify locations. One thing about Delaware was, when I traveled all over, I was looking at neighborhoods and stuff like that. Then I'd come back to Delaware, like, oh, that neighborhood looks like Compton. Right. And this looks like here. This looks like here. And I was able to see this city in a different light, because I was seeing it from different places that I saw from other places I traveled to. But the one thing that you guys were touching on that I wanted to say, like, there's a quote from Hitchcock where he talks about, he said, a good well, there's two quotes. Well, one from Quentin Tarantino saying, take your time, man. He's saying that music and film go together. You know what I mean? Because he's like Quentin Tarantino. He was like, when I go to my films, I got to go find my music first. He finds the music first, and then goes into the rhythm. Then finds how he wants to place the scenes together along with the music. And then Hitchcock was saying that a good film is so great, you could turn the music and everything off and you can still see the visual. You know what I mean? Like, I think all that goes together, because it's like we're using tools to tell stories. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're not grabbing tools to tell a story. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I got it. You get what I'm saying? That's the real key to this, you know? And I think when you're creating and you're in that flow, it's just like, things will just start coming to you. Like you talked about driving, and you just like, oh, that's a great scenery. This music, I could just see this. And that's what we're looking for. And that's what's going to build great storytelling. You know what I mean? Because people who are just like, oh, let me just try to write something. Like it might work sometimes in that way. Not to say that process ain't there, but I think it's through your experiences and what you see in life. And you can tell some of the greatest directors, they got their DNA because of the things of their own experience. I can look at somebody's film and I can see them in it every time. I can look at my videos and I know exactly this is my DNA in the video. It's
crazy you said that, because someone told me that creativity comes from trauma. Ooh. Damn. Because, I mean, if you grew up poor, you had to be able to create different games to entertain yourself. But that's what someone told me. All creativity comes from trauma.
You know, let me speak on that real quick, right? Because we have our Black Film Festival and people submit their films, and we go through the films and we watch them. And I would say a lot of them were based around trauma. And to that point, I challenge people to try to dig for a story that isn't based off that. Because seeing so many films submitted around trauma, it's like wow, to see where your mind is so focused on and consumed, and there's so much more beneath the surface of all that trauma that I think people need to tap into. Like, think about the things that you love, think about the things that have touched you, the things you've learned. And I think it's easy to make a story about trauma, because you always need a problem in a story, right?
Yeah.
You need a solution. So it's like, oh, this is the trauma, this is the problem. Like, I think it's easy to identify that, to where with other areas like maybe a comedy or a love or something that's not based around heavy material like trauma, it may be a little more challenging to find that, that problem in the story.
Yeah. And speaking of the film festival, this show is brought to you by Jet Phoenix Films and Dirty Popcorn Film Festival, coming to the Delaware Art Museum.
August 12th.
August 12th. Make sure you hit the link in the description, grab your ticket, and
it's free.
And get there for free.
It's free.
Grab your voucher and get there for free.
Free food, free panels, more discussions like this, this is what it's about. We have to open the door up. I felt like I didn't want to charge anybody because I need people to understand that this is a platform for everyone and let people feel like, you know what? Because it's like that choice. We're in the choice world. We'll wake up like, well, do I do this or do that? Well, do I have enough money to do this? No, I'm not. I'm wiping all that out, saying, hey, listen, this is free. So this is a cool day. We're gonna give you some food. We're gonna give you some drinks. There's gonna be some popcorn. There's gonna be some vibes, and come out and enjoy yourself. And learn some stuff about film. This year, I wanted to focus a little bit more on education. Last year was just built around the films and just small discussions. But this year is about the conversation that we're having here. Because the thing I said was we had over 162 submissions.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it was a lot of films.
162 submissions. And then we only had 4 people from the state of Delaware in it. You know what I mean? And it made me realize what's going on in Delaware that's lacking film,
How many submissions again?
160 plus.
That's like about 4 days of watching.
Oh, trust me. It
awesome.
It was a lot. It was a lot to look through, but it was beautiful to see a lot of different filmmakers.
Some talent out there.
Super talented people, from animation to they hit every genre. You know what I mean? But this year was just how can we get more Delaware talent involved? Because that goes to this thing that if y'all mind me curve it, I see young black creatives that get into this business, but they just think music video, being a videographer, and they don't think about the next level of filmmaking. They don't see themselves on set. They don't see them this one kid, he's like, yo, I'm really nice with the camera. And I'm like, yeah, you want to be a cinematographer? What's a cinematographer? You know what I mean? He didn't know what that was. So I was like, well, here, Google this, YouTube this, I'm trying to put him on to different people. It's like one of my favorite cinematographers, Bradford Young. He dope. You know what I'm saying? He's been in the game, that's what he do. Huh? Yeah, he saw some. And our rival too. He snapped. You know what I mean?
Put his nuts on the camera.
He did. He really did. He did.
That was my next question was, who is your favorite art director?
I think he's going to ask that question.
Oh man!
I think this dude named my
director, camera guy. Who's the I'm a nut for Michael Bay.
Okay, right.
And I follow Michael Bay. I go back to the Got Milk commercial.
Okay, right.
Every guy, and when you said it,
he did that? He did that?
Yeah,
he did.
And when you look at the Michael Bay, when you look at the Got Milk commercials, we're talking early 80s, right?
Yeah.
And you look at them, you can see a remnant of him in Transformers.
Oh, for sure. You can see the explosions. You can see the camera movements.
Yeah.
You see it all there. And that part has never changed. His cinematic eye. Shoot, if he was probably allowed to use anamorphic lenses, he probably would have used anamorphic for the things.
Yeah. So who's your inspiration? And give me a shot example, a video example. Hitchcock is known for his zoom in dolly shot.
Yes, he is. Yeah. For me, man, this is a big one because there's so many people that I pull from.
Go ahead. We got time. We on the network.
You should go. You should go first.
All right.
Mine is Michael Bay. Michael Bay. Spike Lee. Yeah. Definitely. I always love the pull shot, when they're standing on the platform, the platform is moving, and everything else is moving around them. I love Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
I love that. That's who I got in my record, in my repertoire.
Damn.
Yeah, they're good people.
I forgot the dude's name, man. He
Oh.
did The Shining, though. I forgot his name, man.
Oh, Shining.
He's
The
one of
ultimate one shot.
Yeah, he's one of the
yeah,
best
yeah.
directors. But right now, for me, and I ain't mean to jump ahead.
No, go ahead.
The Daniels.
Yeah,
The Daniels who did everything every year all at once.
yeah.
The Daniels.
Yeah.
They came from a
Okay.
music video background.
Yep.
And when I tell you, they killed it.
Yeah,
They destroyed it.
Did you see? That thing was crazy. Did you see it?
Everything all at once. Everything.
Everything,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
That's
really
one.
good.
That's one of my
It
favorites.
was really
Destroyed
good.
it, man.
Yes.
Yeah,
it was-
yeah.
It
That's
was damn near a perfect project.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
It was flawless. It was flawless. I'm not even gonna
That's
lie.
major for y'all to give it that.
I'm gonna give it
How many
that.
dirty popcorns you giving that?
I'll give it 11
I-
out of 10, 15 out of 10. It
I'm
was
major.
fire.
And they were
It was
music
fire.
videos.
Yeah.
They started from music video.
Yeah. That film is. Whew.
It's major, man.
It's so funny that you brought that up because I was sitting and watching it, and my son came down the stairs, and he'll jump in a couple movies with me.
Yeah.
You know. But if it's like super like sci-fi, something crazy, he'd be like, I ain't got time for that. So he sat there, he had his got his food, and he sat down for a split second. He start watching, he's like, oh, this is good. He stayed the whole film, and then he recommended it to my wife. He was like, Mom, you need to see this because the mom dynamic thing going on. He saw something, he caught a message in it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
A lot of
Like,
messaging.
lot of messaging in that
Hard.
film.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
So
it's super
hard.
deep. There's layers on top of layers in that film. And it's just nothing regular about it.
It was perfect. It was perfect timing for it.
Yeah, it was.
See, my experience was the opposite. I'm like, all right, we watching a movie. Everybody sit down. My daughter, my wife, my son. 2 minutes, they gone.
Yeah.
I'm in there by myself. I watched it like 16 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
No distractions though.
Yeah, I was in it. I was locked in. Man.
Yeah, that movie, man,
Right.
that's a good one. That's one of the best that came out in this last 10 some years of filmmaking.
It deserved the Oscars it got.
Yeah, it totally
deserved
did.
it.
Totally.
I would
did.
say for me, sorry to cut you off.
Nah, you good.
I would say for me, 3 genres I really enjoy: action, crime, and sci-fi.
Okay.
For action, Quentin Tarantino,
I'll give it that. Okay.
hands down, Quentin Tarantino. I really respect and love his unapologetic nature that he puts into his films.
Yeah.
He's very provocative and controversial the way he approaches things, from the language he chooses in the movies, the gruesomeness, if that's a word. And for crime, Martin Scorsese.
Oh yeah.
Martin just like the way he's able to tell a story with
He
the
shot
crime.
Michael Jackson's video.
Did he really?
Beat It.
Beat it. Yeah, he did beat it.
He did?
He did Beat It.
Oh,
Yeah, I do remember.
I learned something. I didn't know that. That's
And then when you look at it again, when you look at their work in their early days,
Mhm.
man,
You can see it.
you can see a part of it
Yeah.
that you see in Law and Order.
Because
Not Law and Order.
Yeah.
You'll see in one of his films. You know what I mean?
Because his DP was known as the Dark God because everything he shot, everything was dark around the eyes. That's why, like in like Godfather or even Godfather, all the eyes were dark.
Mm-hmm.
You heard Godfather?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Hey,
make
if
sure.
you don't know the Godfather,
I'm on camera. I wanted to make sure. Come on the top of my head. Normally when I do interviews, I research everything first and come in.
Yeah.
But his DP was known as the Dark God because everything, his lighting was always no eyes. You couldn't see the eyes. Everything was dark.
Very.
How important is lighting to your project?
it's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything.
Because I've seen a lot of young people out here. I've seen a lot of people shooting in auto, right, and don't use lighting. And we're not even going to talk about audio.
Yeah.
You know, how important is lighting to your project, to your individual project?
So-
are you a light bender, or are you a I'll just use natural light? Or
No.
do you bounce?
No, I think everything. Me personally, I'm using everything, every source that I can use. To take what we were talking about on the first question and bring it to actually this one. Bradford Young, I'll use him for Arrival. One thing I loved about the film that they did, the whole film was pretty much shot inside of an alien ship. So inside the alien ship, they needed a big panel light. That was probably one of the biggest panel soft lights. And they're using this soft light because the alien's supposed to be behind this white big drop. So, but they're actually using it as the key light to actually light the actors, light.
So is it
everything.
practical too?
Yes, and it's a practical.
Wow.
He's like the king of practical.
Yo, he the way his attack in Arrival, if you haven't seen it with lighting, is like I've never seen it done before.
He did the Star Wars movie too, right?
Yeah, and he did Star Wars with.
Was it Han Solo?
Yeah, Han Solo.
Oh,
They were.
he did do that.
So the report was they were mad because it was shot different than all the Star Wars because he used shadows. He loves low light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wants to use practicals and people walking in and out of shadows. You know what I mean? Coming in from the light and backing out the force. And me, I take that same approach. I love shadows. I want to use every source. I want to use practicals. I want to make it feel like normal, but at the same time, I want the help and the support of the lights because the lights are there for support. So use the support. If you don't use the support, then you're gonna find yourself struggling with the aperture and everything else. You're gonna struggle with the lens, and if we're talking really good lenses, they need good lighting. You know what I mean? Like it's just how it works. Like these cameras are all dealing with a sensor. And they're dealing with light. Everything is dealing with light. So it's all about everything traveling in and out.
Like I think a lot of people don't realize, like on a real film crew, for those who don't know, like a DP, director of photography, that's his whole job. Like
that's what he do.
So there's a camera operator, there's a director, you got your DP. Your DP literally, he is director of photography, how the image looks. He has a whole lighting crew. He's directing the gaffing, the grip, telling them to move the light.
He's the whole movie.
He
really is the one that's controlling the whole thing you're seeing.
And to answer the question, like lighting for me, like I'm very intentional with the technical part of lighting, like shooting broad, shooting short, shooting split lighting, Rembrandt, like the real patterns of lighting.
What that Rembrandt is, for the people who don't know.
Oh, so Rembrandt, if you it's a triangle, and it's like Rembrandt is it's after a painter. I forget his name.
Yeah,
it's like a mixture of that painter style mixed with shooting short. And what shooting short is when the side of the face that's facing the camera is dark and the other side of the face is lit, which creates interest. Like when you're looking at it, because you don't see the first side of the face that is facing you, so it's like. The side that is lit, it makes you more interested into the shot.
Talk to him.
Makes you more interested into the character.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. In the 70s, there was a song that called "The DJ Saved My Life." Last night, the DJ saved my life. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
How has media saved your life?
Y'all go ahead.
Before I get into that question, that's a lot. That's a lot. The lighting for me is color.
Ooh.
I like splashes of color everywhere.
Okay.
The example, Euphoria.
Yes.
Euphoria.
Yeah.
Euphoria,
example.
Again,
Great
the
example.
DP, the crew, they put their nuts on the camera.
Yeah, they did.
Everything. It's everything.
Yeah, it's everything.
If you want to model something, you want to follow somebody, myself, I follow them.
Yeah.
Because it's just crazy. But can't explain it.
And they use real film.
Man, I studied their whole process because
God.
I had to we got a stack of books of their whole behind the scenes and I mean, if you haven't seen The Idol, they also did the same thing, the same attack, the same approach with The Idol. Like
Idol was great.
Yeah, the lighting. I mean, if you want to watch something with great lighting and
watch The Idol.
Definitely watch The Idol. Euphoria, them. Oof. You talking camera, lighting, transitions. Like,
you know who else got mean transitions? Not Doctor Who. It just escaped me just now. My mind manic, it just went. Sherlock Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes?
Oh yeah, I think that one, Sherlock Holmes, the new one.
The new one, okay.
Oh my God, they transitions is.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, what was the question? The camera?
Question.
Saving life.
How has media saved your life?
That's exactly what it did. It saved my life.
Yeah,
it saved my life. I went to school for marketing. I had a degree in marketing, but I never had a marketing job. I picked the camera up. The camera has, had me in spaces with, creators like the ones we have here, meet beautiful people all over the world. It also allowed me to give impact work. And I know we spoke about it earlier, just to be able to create something and watch it breathe in front of you and give it life. That's what really kind of changed my life and said, you know what, this is what I want to do. Because after I give it to a client or we sit and we watch it and everybody's locked in, it just does something to me.
Right.
So, and then also being around just multiple creatives, because there's no real level when it comes to being a creative.
No,
Right.
There's none. You know, where you did your accomplishments or any of those things, you know, it's an equal love. And you have an ear.
Yeah.
You have an ear. Like, I want to listen to what Oz is saying. I want to listen to Ivan, what you got going on. I want to come to the film festival.
Right.
Because it's just an even playing field for me. And that's what made me really take to the camera and take to this business. Because I love all aspects of it. If I'm holding the mic, if I'm running audio, I'm going to run the best audio.
Right.
Boom, deep in.
It's a tribe. It's a tribe.
Exactly, sir. Yeah,
absolutely.
No egos. Yeah, but that's it for me.
For me, media has been my life. It is my life. It's been my foundation to all my success and everything that I've accomplished up to this point. I mean, I always ask myself, like, how did this happen? How did I get this far? And it's just God-given ability. You know, I wish I really could have a pinpoint answer on why things happened. Funny story on how this really all came about for me is I got FL Studio from a neighbor named Billy in my neighborhood. I got a pirated version of FL Studio. and just started making beats every day from like 9th grade. And then to just look at that story all the way up to now, like to see that from that very moment, the day I got that software when I was 14 years old, got me this far to being in front of all the big celebrities, the big brands I've worked with, the portfolio that I got, my beautiful friend Jet, our business, like it's a blessing. Like, so media has saved my life, it's made my life, it's protected my life, and everything above.
Yeah. Good point, bro.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a little deeper than media. I think it's me, like I said to y'all, like being a creative, recognizing that I'm a creative. I realized that's my main purpose, of recognizing that point. And once I really tapped into being a creative, that's when I saw my connection. Like I was saying to y'all earlier, I feel like God is the first creator. He said, let there be light. He put things where it's supposed to be. He deals in management. There's a river, there's a lake, everything. He created everything very detailed. You know what I mean? And for me, it's like when I tap into that source of creativity, I'm tapping into God. So it's been my faith. It's been everything that has gotten me through this when things were tough and when I didn't think things were going to work out right, or when things was great. It's been everything. So I live within the media. I live with my creativity. I recognize that. I'm so engulfed in it. It's like, to me, like this camera is in our community, like coming from where we come from, most of Black people, we only get one or two options.
Right.
You either be the drug dealer or you get into sports.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
And this to me is like the new basketball. It's the new tool. It's the new way to get out the hood. It's the new thing. This thing right here has took me all over the world and got me in rooms and
sound familiar?
It has for all of us, I believe. This thing has done a lot. This thing has gotten you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like it's just.
You're an all-star too. You know?
Yeah, it really is it's something special about this. This is a beautiful time we're in. A beautiful time, and I mean, as much as stuff that's going on in the world, but that's just part of life. There's always got to be the yin and yang. What you're gonna have good, you're gonna have evil. We see it in movies, right? You know what I mean? This is why we tell stories this way, you know. So, but there's always at the end of the day, there's always hope,
right?
Facts.
And that's where we lean on everything at the end of at any story is the hope to continue doing this, and that's what I'm passionate about, and I'm happy that like, I did this today with you guys. This is a beautiful thing. This is hope. Yeah. You know what I mean? I got hope to do it again and do it more. Wake up and do it again. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question, Ivan. Being a creative, when did you realize that you had the power to tell a story?
The night in your basement. The night in your basement after we got finished shooting, you was editing the piece, that we shot at Buck Wild's loft.
Okay.
That was the night I fell in love with hip hop.
How so?
That was the night. Because that so just to backtrack, real quick. I got into this out of depression. Madison was born 1 pound 3 months early. 1 pound 3 ounces, like 4.5 months early, and I just got finished closing the 302 Automotive, and I had no job. We lost our house. We ended up in an apartment. It was a horrible time for me, and I was trying to find myself, right? And in the essence of me trying to find myself, I was going to church. I was going to the Imam. I ended up in a Buddhist temple.
Oh,
right.
Right.
And I ended up in a Buddhist temple, and this lady walks up to me and she says, "Do you understand the power of pictures?" At the same time, my dad died. I watched my dad die, so I was a wreck. And she's like, "Do you understand the power of pictures?" And I said, couldn't say anything. I'm like, mm-mm. And she says, "Pictures have what we call still energy. It'll help a person relive a moment of time within the 16th of a second. Take as many pictures as you can, and you will help millions." At that time, my mind wasn't right. I wasn't trying to hear it. I was like, "Yeah, all right, crazy lady."
Yeah,
Like 2 months later, I go to a restaurant and I meet Tim. Right, Tim is passing by from Atlanta. Just came through Atlanta. Right. He was at the table with Neil Carr.
Shout out to Neil.
Yeah, shout out to Neil. With Neil Carr and a couple other people.
Todd.
Yep.
Todd.
And I'm at the bar, and Tim would come to the bar, and I cracked a joke, and then Tim was like, "Yeah, so what you doing?" I'm like, "I'm in between stuff." And I'm like, "What do you do?" He's like, "I'm a cinematographer." And I'm like, "A what?" Right? Like in Delaware? And he said, "I make movies." And he said, "Won't you come hang out with me?" So I was like, all I thought about was what this lady said, right? And I'm like, this dude don't know me from Man in the Moon. So we go to North Philly, and we go to Buck Wild's house, and he actually showed me the pictures the other day. I had my only shirt that I had, the Mountain Dew shirt, and my ripped jeans, right? And we go on set, and I walk in, Tim was like, "Yo, everybody, this is Ive, Big Ive from Delaware." Everyone's like, "Hey, Ive, what's up, Big Mama?" Right? So he throws me the microphone, throws me a Sennheiser pack, and he says, "Wire her up." And I'm like,
he threw you right out there.
Dude, threw me right out there. And I was like,
you right out there.
Dude, I don't know how to wire nobody up, right?
Right.
So he showed me how to wire up. Then his thing was get behind the camera. And I was like, "Do what?" He said, all he wanted me to do, it was, I know you teach like this too, it was on a slider. He said, "Just pull it back and forth." And I'm pulling it back and forth. We spent about 10 to 12 hours on that set that night. Next day, he was like, "Come on down." I had no money. Saquon Stimson drove me down to Philly, and we was in his basement, and he was editing it, right? Editing the joint. And I looked at him, and I said, "Wait a minute." He was just making like a 15-minute reel out of 10 hours worth of footage.
Right.
And I said, "What the hell?" I said, hold on. So you mean to tell me you can shoot all this and then cut it down and make people believe what you want them to believe?
Yep.
Right.
And he said, "Yeah." That's when I fell in love with hip hop.
That's the power.
That was it.
That was it.
And then more and more I hung with Tim. Tim had me doing like behind the scene interviews. And I was doing all the behind the scene interviews to all the shows. They had this group, right, that I'd never seen before. It was, if you was a writer, you were a writer. Tim was the shooter. Neil was the actor, right? Somebody else was the actor. And the girl would write, and they would get together and they would go shoot a film.
Right.
And I'm like, I ain't never seen no one work like this together. Like no money, no one got no money. Everybody but putting all their efforts in, right? And Tim got hired one time and took me with him to go to shoot in Atlanta. And this is where failure is dope.
I can tell this story better than you.
I bet you can. Go ahead. I'll let you tell it. Go ahead. Well, I'll let him tell the Atlanta part. So we come back home, and I had nothing but time.
Right.
So that's how I came up with DETV. But the moment I understood the science of media on how you can use it for persuasion and how people use it as a weapon to demoralize the ones without a voice and to hush them up or just give them nothing, but ask for our vote was a problem with me. So I remember I came home from my vacation from Tim, and I sat on my mom's step over South Bridge, and I was just, damn, what if I can create something that can bring people together, that can give people information, but persuade them. Awesome. So I studied the science of persuasion in film. You know what I mean? I've learned how how lighting plays effect, music plays effect, because at this time, remember, I'm still going to the Buddhist temple. So I'm understanding tone. I'm understanding, the psychology behind it. Yeah, sure. And I'm embedding all this into science projects, which is, yo, what's up, my main man? This is Ivan talking to Mr. DTV. Like the tone, the cadence, like how to make people remember that. And one of the questions I had that helped me out a great deal was Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King made this move, and he brought all these people together in DC without social media, without a megaphone, without, radio. What did he do? And what he did was the science behind it. And I like to shoot, but I love the science. The science behind Martin Luther King speech was making his beliefs theirs.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So that's what I did with DETV. I made it that people that would come from marginalized communities, come from communities that have no information. I believe that there's a better Wilmington. When they was calling us murder capital. No, this your main man, Big Ive. I believe that we are not, that so-and-so is doing this and so-and, it's great. And I started seeing the science works. Yeah. And that's how, that's what saved my life. And what that lady said at the Buddhist temple, it was the truth. Yeah. You'll help millions. And like you said, the camera has taken us everywhere free.
Yeah, you're right, bro.
To that point, I think a lot of people don't realize the media business touches every business, every industry.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Especially nowadays.
It's not an industry that the media business doesn't touch.
Agreed.
And I just wanted to add that point.
No, and while we're there, let's stay there for a minute. It's a good point. How do you guys believe as influencers, as content creators, as filmmakers? I never want to exclude that part, because that's a huge part of it. You're filmmakers, right? How does that influence people in the shows that we see, the negative, the shit they fighting on, black girls fighting and all this? Does that impact a community?
Yes, it does. Number one.
That's what I want to add, because a lot of people think it's just entertainment.
No. It's 100%. It's a tool against us. Yeah. It's a freaking tool against us that we can use to pioneer other great positive things. One thing that I wanted to touch back on your story is that when I saw the truck and I saw the T-shirt that says 200% positive, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. That made me realize oh, I should be thinking there is positive visuals.
Sweet.
You know what I mean? Because it's easy, it goes back to our conversation with the filmmaking and the things. It's so easy for us to come from our hood to be like, okay, if I got a camera, I don't really have many actors, but I can shoot a street movie, guns pulling out, stuff like that. That's easy access because it's it's right there. Yeah. The tools are right there. The backdrop's right there.
Right.
Okay, my boys run out the house. It's easy to trap house. It's all there. The set's there. So we tend to gravitate towards that, and what Hollywood does, they say, okay, cool. If this is what the community's into, we're going to exploit that. We're going to keep boosting that up. We'll keep pioneering that. Where we don't think okay, how do we shoot a sci-fi movie in the hood? You know what I mean? We don't take the same approach as a Spielberg does. Because Spielberg is doing the same thing, but he's taking it from the same approach, but a different approach. He's okay, let's take the Goonies. I got young little kids all together. They all in the neighborhood. They poverty. They loot bomb and them about to lose their homes. But I'm going to make them go out and find a treasure map and find the treasure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the same formula, but it's a little twisted, a little different. You know, E.T.'s the same thing. I'm gonna bring an alien into a poor home family, and their kids are gonna fall in love with the alien. We don't think like that approach most of the time. We quick to go, oh, let's show the girls who's the pimp prostitute. You know, a good movie right now that I want people to pay attention to if they haven't paid attention is, I believe it's called they cloned Tyrone or what?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Fontaine. That thing,
I didn't get a chance to see it yet.
I watched that last night.
That's the one.
That's the one we need to pay attention to right now. We need to pay attention. If there's any movie, if it's like, I can compare it to Robert Townsend Jr. Yeah, I can compare it to that.
Okay.
That's our modern day version.
I was thinking, because I heard people giving reviews about that.
Yeah.
And I remember Hollywood Shuffle when we were growing up. I think we were about 10 years old. And we just thought it was funny. But now you watch it, you can see
the message.
There's a big messaging in this movie right now is that, you know what I mean? So I encourage anybody to watch that, because that's something that's very big.
When we come back, when we come back on our next episode, we make sure we'll talk about that in depth after we all watch it.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll be in the basement.
In the basement.
In the basement.
That's where we started, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement. All in the basement.
It's a pleasure, man.
No,
it's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, always. Yeah.
You too, man.
I appreciate it. Ivan Thomas.
Yeah.
Yo, there you go. There you have it. Creatives on the couch, man. We filmmakers, creatives, influencers sitting here discussing the world that we come from and the world that we see, and that's behind the lens. That's at 30 frames per second, and sometimes 120 and 250.
Yep.
But I can't wait to get back to do this again. Yeah. This has definitely been an eye-opening experience and an eye-opening conversation. Next episode, we're going to talk about the strike and how independence can take over while the strike is going on. Yeah. All right? Yeah. I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah, no, it can.
That's what happens.
Independence is here right now. You can get it while you can get it now. It's here.
Right. So, real quick, give everybody where they can follow you at, Jet.
You can follow me on Instagram, all platforms. It's Jet Phoenix. It's JETPHYNX. Yeah.
It's your man Prana, OZPRANA on all platforms.
Tim Fontaine on all platforms. Just Fontaine, baby.
All right, and DETV, there you have it. Check us out, Good Morning Wilmington and the cooking show. And up next, you. See you on the side of doing things great.